Hello, and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Kay, and I'm joined by producer Chris Judge of the class of 2005. Here on the Providence College Podcast, we bring you interesting stories from the Fryer family. This week, in honor of Martin Luther King Day, we're talking with recipients of the Dr. Martin Luther King Scholarship. This full tuition scholarship was established more than 50 years ago and is awarded each year to 50 students of Asian American, African American, Latin American, or Native American descent. Our first student is Emily Kim, a member of the class of 2026 from Queens, New York. She's still deciding on her major, but in the meantime, she's gotten very involved in several extracurricular activities, such as mock trial and the MLK Convocation Committee. Emily, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in your first year at PC. What led you to choose to attend Providence College?
So my college counselor actually worked really closely with me in my senior year of high school, and she introduced me to PC, particularly because it was very similar to my previous high school, where it was a Catholic, smaller private institution. And so that familiarity, but also I think I was looking for a college that really focused on the liberal arts, because I've had a couple of conversations of how rare that is. And especially as someone who is looking into majoring in philosophy or psychology, that aspect, the liberal arts education, particularly resonated with me.
That's wonderful. So what have been some of the highlights of your experience so far?
I think joining a lot of different clubs and organizations and just seeing which one like fit with my schedule and which one really stood out to me. So, like joining mock trial, for example, and also her campus. But also, I think just meeting new people and seeing how like interesting it is to have someone come all the way from like California or Texas and just meeting different people and getting used to being more independent. I think that those have been the highlights.
So, Emily, one of the unifying aspects of the curriculum at Providence College is the Development of Western Civilization program. It's 3 semesters dedicated to studying texts from all different historical periods, starting with antiquity. So, you've just completed your first semester and you're getting ready to start your second. How did it go?
It was definitely something new and something that I wasn't used to, and I was actually pretty scared of Western Civ at the beginning. I think particularly like the seminar aspect of it. Um, but like looking back, it's only been like 4 months since I've started Civ, and I've already learned so much. And I think there's so many exciting aspects of seminar because you're bringing your own ideas to it. And, the texts, some of them I've already explored in the past. And so that's always nice to have. But it's something that I definitely had to get used to. But I'm proud of like how far I've come from this short first semester in Western Civ.
So, Emily, you've gotten to study several languages before arriving at PC. Are you planning to continue that in future semesters?
Yeah, so I actually studied Spanish and Mandarin in high school, and I grew up speaking Korean. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to fit Spanish or Mandarin into my first and second semester schedule in college, but it's definitely something that I am looking into pursuing in the future. Um, if it happens and it fits into my schedule, that's something that I definitely would like to take again so that I can work on Spanish and Mandarin.
You mentioned that you were interested in philosophy or possibly psychology as majors, and those are the um, subject areas you're considering. What classes have you taken so far, and what are you looking forward to in the spring?
So I took logic and introduction to psychology in my first semester just to get a glimpse into, especially logic was something that I had never really explored in high school. And it's interesting because it's a lot more mathematical than you would think, especially considering it is a philosophy-based class. But I was extremely interested in taking both of those classes. And second semester, I'm taking human neuropsychology and philosophy of history, um, just continuing to study different areas of philosophy and psychology, especially because I had a really good time in both of those classes previously.
And as an undeclared student, did you get to enroll in a special class?
So I took Introduction to PC in my first semester. I honestly didn't know what to expect with that class, but it helped me see the different um, areas of study that I could pursue at PC, particularly considering PC is a liberal arts-based college. Um, so it was really interesting and also bonding with other students who are undeclared. It helped me realize that I'm not alone in not knowing exactly what I want to pursue. And that's totally okay because, we have time and we can figure this out together. Um, and to have this sort of support in that class was really nice.
And what are your thoughts now, but about possible plans for after Providence College?
So I'm pretty much set on either a major in psychology or philosophy, or potentially doing a double major. And I think I'm looking into pursuing law and going to law school after graduating from PC. Um, Nothing solidified, but I'm interested in pre-law right now, and so that's a potential path for me.
Now, we were excited to talk to you because you're a member of the MLK Convocation Committee. The group is planning both the convocation itself on Thursday, January 26th, featuring keynote speaker Hill Harper, as well as some other events during Black History Month. Can you tell us a little about some of the things that are in the works?
So I am part of the Breakfast and Vigil Committee, and that is taking place sometime early February. And so far, we plan to have a speaker, potentially some student performances, and just a big breakfast in honor of MLK. And it's really exciting because I actually haven't been to an MLK convocation, having been a first year student. So being able to be a part of planning that is really exciting because I have so much to look forward to in that sense. But yeah, especially the breakfast and vigil, we have a lot of things planned, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
And how did you get involved in the committee in the first place?
So I started working part-time at the executive office, and I work under the executive assistant to the president, and she is actually a huge part of the MLK convocation. And so she talked to me about potentially being a part of that committee, especially being an MSP scholar. And so through that connection, I was able to be a part of planning the convocation.
Emily, I'm curious, as an MLK scholar yourself, how do you reflect on the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King?
I think that, just as he has provided so many different opportunities and kind of changing the world in that sense, um, being able to have these sort of opportunities on campus as an MLK scholar, um, and reflecting um, on kind of all of his accomplishments and honoring him through his convocation that we're planning. Um, I think I'm just really grateful to have these different opportunities, um, and be a part because, the scholars all have a couple of meetings throughout the semester. And so, um, being part of this special community, even within the college, has been really amazing to have your own safe space. Um, and so, yeah, I think I'm extremely grateful for all of the opportunities I've had just in this short semester being an MLK scholar.
I'm curious what other experiences have kind of shaped your path at Providence so far.
I have a lot of different mentors. Um, I'm part of Horizons, and so I have a mentor right now through that. And I also have a mentor through the honors program. And having this sort of support system outside of, your traditional clubs, having these one-on-one conversations with someone who has been a part of PC for a couple of years and learning from both of them. Um, I think having that connection has really helped me adjust to PC. Um, but apart from having mentors, also being a part of different clubs And again, meeting new people through that outlet has been really interesting.
And both Horizons and your honors program mentors, are those current students?
Yes. Um, one of them, I believe, is a sophomore, and one of them is a senior. So it's different having those perspectives.
But Horizons is specifically a program for students of color.
Right.
Right. And the honors program is for students in the honors program. So it's great to have those resources of folks who can help you, who have walked the path before, right?
Mhm.
Emily, I'm also wondering, you're new to Friartown. Did you get to visit campus before you enrolled? And what's your favorite part of campus now that you live here?
So it was actually tricky being able to visit because, of COVID, but I was able to visit once or twice before arriving to school. And I would say now my favorite part of campus would probably be Ruane and the library, just because I spend a lot of my time there, especially, having classes like Civ in Ruane. I just love the spaces where either you can study with a friend or study alone, and also having like Starbucks at Ruane is really nice. So I would say that those two are my favorite part of camp.
There's often two different kinds of students at Providence College. There's either Dunkin' students or Starbucks students. And see, we can see which camp you fall into.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, it's been wonderful chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again for having me.
So our next student is Justin Andries, a member of the class of 2023. Andries grew up in Brooklyn and is a graduate of Cristo Rey Brooklyn High School. He designed his own major in global health equity. During his time at PC, he's worked as a research assistant in the biology lab of Dr. James Waters and studied abroad in the United Kingdom through the Civ in London program. Justin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Justin, you are entering your last semester as a PC student. What have been some of the highlights of your time in Friartown so far?
Highlights would definitely be getting to know like my friends that I have now and just making like some really close connections and bonds. I would say being able to create my own major, because I know a lot of schools you would not be able to do that, or it would be a lot harder than it was here. And just exposing myself to individuals that I would have never like seen myself interacting with if I would have stayed in like New York or went to school local.
So tell us a little bit more about your individualized major. Which academic disciplines are included in your global health equity major?
So before I decided to make my own major, I was a double major in biology and sociology, and I had a minor in Black studies. And we talked previously about like medicine and stuff, and I realized that I didn't want to become a doctor, which means that I no longer want to go to med school. And I realized that a lot of classes that I was taking in the biology department was catered towards going to med school. And I felt that I could put like my mental energy elsewhere, but I didn't want to drop biology like as a whole. And I still wanted to keep sociology. So I went to my two advisors at the time and I talked about creating my own major, and they were super supportive. So it's now called Global Health Equity. And it's basically a combination of biology, Black studies, global studies, HPM, sociology. And yeah, that's it.
What but health policy and management there for people who might not know the acronym? That's
policy management, yes.
Yeah. So that's a pretty interdisciplinary kind of group. So what are you thinking? Can you tell us about some of the classes that are included in the mix?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a lot of like intro to Black studies classes, just to get like your foot in the door to like learn more about like the African diaspora and like disparities within the African diaspora. And then it's a lot of like health policy management classes, like epidemiology. I just took intro to HPM last semester, and it's also global studies courses. And it's a few biology courses, but it's really only included because I had already took the courses before I made the major. But yeah, then it's a few global studies courses and a lot of sociology courses. So I try to make it as like interdisciplinary as possible with like a lot of intersections. So it's inclusive to everyone, but it's also broad enough where you could like choose a specialty after you get this major and get the degree.
Well, so since you alluded to, what to do after your major, just curious what your ambitions are for postgrad.
So I'm currently applying to grad schools. Some that I have in mind right now, like my top choice is Georgetown, hands down. I'm almost done with the application. Definitely NYU, George Washington University, Emory. So yeah, I'm just planning on getting my master's in global health or global public health and just continue down this path and see where it takes me.
And I'm sure some of that path will include research, which you've already had a taste of here at Providence College. How did you get started with research in Dr. Waters' lab?
My first biology class ever was with Dr. Waters, and I love them. They're really supportive of like my college journey, and I really appreciated that. And then I found out that they do research. So I asked them and they were willing. So I started research with them. I think it was like first semester freshman year.
Mhm.
And I've been working with them like ever since. And yeah, I've nothing bad to say. So I do research with right now. I've taken a step back with research because of like all the college applications and just senior year in general. But in general, I test like the metabolism of fruit flies and ants. And we just test like how they interact with each other as a group and separately. And we also test their critical thermal limits. So we basically like heat them up like to as hot as they can go without dying. And then we bring them back down to like a resting temperature and we see like how well their metabolism is after. And we do the same thing with ants. So it's pretty cool. I've gotten a lot of opportunities doing research. In October, I actually came back from Puerto Rico, where it was like a networking conference, and we talked to like a lot of people doing research in like the same area and different areas. So yeah, it's really good. I love research, and I'm trying to continue that after college as well.
Now, Dr. Waters' lab often does a lot of like naturalist work, going out in the field and collecting ant samples, and so I'm just curious, you yourself, you grew up in the city. Did you have much experience or interest working with insects growing up?
No, not at all. Not at all. I actually didn't know like how much insects lived in my neighborhood, like in general, until I started working with Dr. Waters, because during COVID, I continued to do research with him, but I had to do it from home in New York. So my job was to like just go out like around my neighborhood and like pick up like any species that I thought looked weird. And we had to identify them, which was really hard.
How many, do you remember offhand, like ballpark, how many
It was like
species you
30,
identified?
yeah, like 30, 40. And then we used this app called iNaturalist where it really helped us like identify like what type of species and stuff. So it was really good. And that actually got me into microphotography, which I do with Dr. Waters. I started like to dabble a little bit in it. So right now, like I'm also taking like these micro photographs of the ants that we're trying to identify and really pinpoint like what part of their body like differentiates them from other species of ants. So it's really cool work. The pictures are beautiful. And I can't wait to do something with them and like publish them.
I have to say, recommend iNaturalist as a site. Dr. Waters has me hooked on it, and it is a wonderful pastime to try to identify every living organism around you.
Yes,
Much better use of your smartphone than half the things we do with them.
I agree.
So, Justin, you were part of the inaugural Civ in London class. For listeners who are unfamiliar, all PC students take 3 semesters of development of Western Civ. And then in the 4th semester, they get to choose a colloquium that synthesizes the topics from the first 3 semesters. Can you tell us about some of the classes you took while you were abroad, Justin?
Yes. So I took contemporary drama with Professor Bernhoff. She is a PC professor. And I had to take the Civ courses, even though like I finished my colloquium and everything, because I was originally supposed to go before COVID hit. So by the time the program was going to kick off again, I was already a junior and I no longer had to take Civ, but I did take it again when I went to London. And I loved it because we really focused on like the history of London and like Europe. So it was really interesting. So I took both the seminar and the lecture class. And then for my major, I took International European Health and Human Rights course. And that was really interesting. I love that class as well. And I also took Shakespeare, the dramatist, and British youth culture. So I was taking 5 classes altogether, and they were all about like 2.5 hours long. So it was really rigorous, but I made it through, and it was really good.
That was a jam-packed schedule, 5 classes in your semester abroad.
Yeah, on top of traveling and navigating a new country that was very expensive. But yeah, it was a great experience. I loved London. I got to go to a lot of places that I thought I would never went to.
Like what? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, for spring break, they took us to Greece. And it was the only place that I thought I wouldn't need my big winter jacket. And it was the only place where I actually had to use it because when we went there, it was snowing. And we would have never thought that it was snowed in Greece, but it snowed in Greece. And we were next to the Acropolis, where our big jackets and snow on the floor. And we made the best of the situation, though. So, yeah. So I went to Greece. I went to Denmark for the weekend. They took us to Northern Ireland, which was really amazing, too. The food was amazing. I think the food everywhere was amazing. They took us to Bath, which is in England. We also went to like other parts of England that I can't remember the names for. And then my final trip was Paris for like 36 hours because I went like 2 days before we had to come back to the United States.
But you got to set foot on French soil.
Yeah, see the Eiffel Tower twice in nighttime and daytime, and then go to this famous like hot chocolate place. It was really good.
You made the most of your time there, right?
Yeah, I love London.
You said something very interesting, though, that you enjoyed the food in Northern Ireland. That is not a place, certainly not a place that is known for its fine cuisine. So,
yeah, it was actually really good. I would rate it like 3 out of 5 out of the places that I went to for good foods.
yeah, if you had told me Greece was high on the list, I would believe you. But I think I think people that's a surprising answer. Justin, what led you to choose to attend Providence College? What brought you to Friartown?
I was torn between two schools. Both were very expensive, but Providence College awarded me with the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship, which is basically the cost of tuition, like without room and board. And while I was going to be paying the same amount at the other school that I was choosing between, my college advisor at the time, there was a few students from my high school that came here, and she was like, "It's a great school. It's good for the biology department." So I took a chance. I never visited here until I got accepted, and yeah, I came here. And then I came to Night in Friartown actually, and I fell in love with the school. Like when I came here, I had a really good mentor, and then really good group of people that I went with, and I stayed in contact with them. And then I was invited to the Friars Foundation program. So I got to basically start school before like everyone else, like the summer before freshman year. And I met the friends that I'm still friends with now. So I love the school. I would do it all over again if I could. It went by so fast.
It's clear that you made the most of the time that you've had here. Um, so as an MLK scholar, how do you reflect on the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and how this opportunity that this scholarship has afforded you?
I admired him for his social reform and social justice that he worked on. And I try my best to like live in my character and try to make the best out of situations where it really always isn't the best, especially being like a Black man at a predominantly white university and college. So I really try not to like let barriers get in my way because of like my skin color. And I think I succeeded in doing that with like creating my major, which was really hard. Just coming to the school, which is like pretty far from home. And yeah, just like surrounding myself with people that I would have never surrounded myself with, and like just keeping an open mind going into situations. I think that helped a lot.
Justin, I just wanted to check in. Were there any other experiences that we haven't discussed that really shaped your path at Providence? Any clubs or orgs, intramurals, that kind of thing?
I am public relations of the Creative Writing Club on campus, Believers of Words. And I've been a poet for a few years now. I try to like write journals and turn them into like poetry and try to speak at like as many events as I could that I'm comfortable with. And actually, I did get one poem published on, I think it was Providence College website. It was for, I think, a Black Studies event. So like I said, I try to live my truth and I try to express that I am a Black man in like this white space. So yeah, the poem is called For Africa. It should be on the journal website. But yeah, so I'm part of the poetry club. I performed at a few fashion shows and a lot of events that we hold like ourselves and stuff.
If you look back on the 7 of 8 semesters that you've completed so far, what are some of your favorite classes? Which ones stand out in your mind?
Ooh, that's hard.
Because there's so many, right? There's so many great ones.
Yeah, no, there really are so many great ones. Race and Racism with Zofia Edwards, who is no longer here with us. Race and Politics with Tony Affigne. Black Studies 101, for sure. Black Feminisms, that was a really great class. Also, Gender, Health, and Technology is a sociology class. I really enjoyed biomedical ethics, and I thought I wasn't because I thought it was going to be really boring, but it was actually really interesting.
And was that taught through philosophy? Which discipline is that in philosophy?
Yeah, it's philosophy. What else? There's just so many classes. I feel like I'm forgetting a few, but yeah, there was a lot of classes that I really enjoyed that I would actually take again, and I recommend to all my friends, especially like in the Black Studies department, because I'm really trying to like work on that. We're looking for a new president.
You basically took an extra semester of Civ beyond what you need to because you did Civ in London. What was your Civ colloquial? What did you take for your actual original fourth semester of Civ?
That's I forgot
Put you
the
on the
name of
spot.
it. Yeah, I know it was centered around race because I wanted to take a civ that focused less on like European history and like European civilization and actually focus on like either American civilization or just like Black history.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely took my colloquium on like race, and it was actually a really good class. I enjoyed it.
Justin, it's been wonderful chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Subscribe to the Providence College podcast in all the usual places, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify, as well as your smart speaker. If you like what you hear, please review and share with others. Thanks for listening, and go Friars.